All right, this is Monday, April the 13th. This is lit class for Bridge to Terabithia. I will be recording it today and sending it to my two students because they are not here this morning for some reason. So we should have read chapter 7 and 8 over this past week. So we're going to go over the study guide, page 27 through 32. So when you get a chance to view this video, you can go ahead and go over your answers in your book. We do not have a vocab quiz or anything this week or next week. Let's see. We do have 2 more weeks after this. And I'm going to take a minute and go over what I want you to do for the end of the book test, which I don't think I really discussed it at the beginning, but it's going to be in the workbook or in the study guide, page 43, and it's going to be number 2. And so you want to make sure you turn that in either next week or the 27th, either week's fine. You're going to be doing page 43, number 2, and there are 3 options there. You can either write a short story about an imaginary land like Terabithia. You can write a eulogy, which is a speech or a formal writing for somebody who has died, like if you were to go up and talk about them during their funeral, that would be what you would do. Or you can do an elegy, which is a lyric poem in tribute to somebody who has died. So you can write a poem to somebody who has died. Okay, so you can just pick one of those 3 things, and when you finish it, you can just go ahead and email it to me, and then I can grade it and go from there. So that will be the end of the book test. All right, chapter 7 and 8 today is what we're going over. So we have some vocab on page 27. So number 1, lean towards something or had a tendency toward it. That would be inclined. Number 2, banished, like Mr. Burke did to Prince Tarian. That would be exiled. Sediment, or the most worthless part of something, how just regarded the end of winter. I would say that would be dregs, because that's just yuck. Something that is bothersome, like PT. It's a nuisance. Showy and gaudy, like the old wallpaper. That would be garish. Splendor and brightness, a quality of the golden room. Brilliance. News. That's tidings. Okay. Compelled, bound, the way Jess felt about helping Janice Avery. Obliged. Repulsive, wicked. Leslie tried to think of a word like this to describe Janice's friends. That would be vile. Painful uneasiness of mind, what Jess felt when he thought Leslie would tell her parents about Terabithia. Anxiety. Page 28. Self-satisfied and unconcerned, like Miss Bessie. And Gabby is joining us. Hello, Gabby.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Okay. We are on page 27. I'll go over those again really quick. We have number 1 was inclined. 2 was exiled. 3 is dregs. 4 is nuisance. 5 is garish. 6 is brilliance. 7 is tidings. 8 is obliged. 9 is vile. 10 is anxiety. Okay, number 11, okay, is complacent. And then number 12 is sanctuary. Okay, then you had just a little word search where you could circle all those, but you didn't have to do that. All right, questions. Number 28, page 28. Why does Leslie become too busy to go to Terabithia and spend time with Jess? What was she spending her time doing?
Ah. Mm, I can't remember.
Okay, she was helping her dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was working on building the house, fixing it up, so she was helping him. Okay. All right, page 29, number 2. When Leslie and Jess return to Terabithia, they go to the Grove of Pines to give thanks. Why does Leslie address her thanks to the spirits of the grove as opposed to God?
Mm, I don't know.
Okay, well, she was not very religious, right? They never
Yeah.
went to church. And so she's more comfortable with the idea of reading about something than actually going to church. She's never been to church. She's never really thought that maybe it's real. She's not sure that it really is. So, which is, kind of like why she decided to go later on. She went to church with them on Easter, I think. And she thought it was really neat. But she still doesn't really completely believe that it's real. Okay. How does Leslie help Janice Avery? This is when she found her crying in the bathroom. What did she decide to do?
Sorry, wait. I just woke up, so I can't
Oh,
really remember.
okay. Well, Jess went in there. She says, all right, I'll just go in there and talk to her because she was trying to send Jess in there. But since
Yeah.
he couldn't go in the girls' bathroom, Leslie ended up going in there. And she found her crying. And what had happened was, well, her father beats her. But the school, the teachers, and the principal and all them, they don't care. So if your parents beat you, well, that's between you and your parents. They are not going to do anything. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to help anything. Well, she ended up coming to school that morning, and she accidentally told her friends that her dad had beat her last night or whatever. So of course they spread that to everybody else. So now everybody knows that her dad beats her, even the principal. And so she feels like her life is over because now everybody knows her secret. And they don't care about it. They just want to use it, to kind of tease her with it. And so Leslie says, well, why don't you just act like you don't know anything about what they're talking about? If somebody says something, say, they had to have made that up. I didn't ever say that. Nothing like that ever happens to me.
Yeah.
And just kind of play it off, and hopefully everybody would just kind of forget about it and, go on with it. So that's what she helped her with. I can't believe that the principal and the teachers wouldn't even care.
I know.
In today's world, it would be their job to call the police or make a report with somebody, That's
Yeah.
right. All right, number 4. How does Jess react when Leslie says she'd like to go to church with him on Easter?
Mm-hmm.
How did he react? Leslie said, I want to go to church with your family on Easter. What did he think about that?
Like, I don't know.
He thought it was unusual because he's
Yeah.
like, you don't go to church. Why do you want to go? And of course,
Yeah.
Jess's mom was worried that she would dress inappropriately, wear cutoff jeans and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, she's going to embarrass us. We can't. She's like, I've got dresses. And they'd never seen her dressed up. And she looked really nice when she went. But he didn't think she would go to church. He thought it was very strange that she would want to go to church because she had never said anything about God. She never talked about God
Yeah.
or going to church at all. So he says it's boring, which a lot of kids think church is boring when you have to sit and listen to the preacher and stuff. Yeah, that can be boring even for adults. You know. So number 5, why didn't Jess's mother want Leslie to go to church with them? Well, I kind of already said that.
Yeah.
Didn't think she dressed like she should or act like she should. You're going to embarrass us. And she didn't. I mean, she was really good and she really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 6. At the beginning of chapter 7, the author writes, Jess tried going to Terabithia alone, but it was no good. It needed Leslie to make the magic. He was afraid he would destroy everything by trying to force the magic on his own, when it was plain that the magic was reluctant to come for him. Why do you think he's unable to make it work?
I don't know. This part kind of like confused me a little.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I would say that she's got such an imagination compared to him, and it seems like a real magic kingdom when she's there and she talks about things and brings up ideas and makes up stories, and just it's very special when she's there because it makes it come alive basically.
Mm.
And the magic was the imagination that Leslie had, because she could make anything seem real, you know. Okay, number 7. Leslie tells Jess that through spending time working and talking with her father, she has learned to understand her father. Do you think it's important to understand your parents? Why or why not?
Yeah.
Why is that important?
I guess so you can get along with them better.
Yeah, definitely. You can kind of get, what they're feeling or why they're feeling a certain way and, things like that. Yeah. And getting along is very, very important. You don't want to spend your life fighting with each other.
Yeah.
You know how that is. All right, number 8. Do you think you understand your parents?
Mm. Maybe to an extent. They're very complex.
Most people are, yeah. Okay, how did you learn to understand them?
I just did, I guess.
Yeah, just practice time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, mine were pretty complex too. And, you know, I understand more now as an adult than I did when I was growing up because when I was growing up, me and my mom never got along. We were always getting into it, because she always thought I was never going to be anything because she had seen what her brother turned out to be. And he was 10 years younger than her. And of course, her mother was an alcoholic and her father kept divorcing her and remarrying her and trying to help her. And she just didn't care. And she ended up getting murdered by her boyfriend. And then her brother, he ended up on drugs and everything. And so she figured I was going to turn out like that too. And so she told me that all the time. You're going to be nothing. You're going to be worthless. And later on, I hated life as a teenager because I just couldn't get along with her. I mean, I went to work crying. I went to school crying, and it was just miserable. And she never treated my sister that way. My sister was younger, and she got away with everything. But I guess because I was the oldest, that I was one that got in trouble for everything. And I never did anything, major, not taking out the trash and, things like that. But as I got older, and I ended up moving out because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I started teaching and stuff. Then I went to counseling, and mom ended up going, and I could see, and she could see what she was doing to me. She was trying to treat me like her mother had treated her. And, her mother had tried to kill her one time. And, it was rough growing up with an alcoholic mother. And then she had to be like the mom to her brother who was little, and it was, so she says, I should have never treated you that way, but I can understand it because of the way her mom was, and I only saw my grandma once, and I was like 3, 4, and she shook me so hard. Mom said, "You're leaving my house now, and you're never going to see her again." She was afraid she was going to hurt me,
Yeah.
And she ended up dying when I was like 7. But it was just, the whole thing was just a mess. My grandpa was not like that at all. I mean, he would give you anything and he would tell you stories. And I mean, he was just wonderful.
Aww.
So, I mean, I could understand, where she's coming from. And then my dad, his mom growing up, they were taught never to show emotion.
Oh.
So we never hugged. We never, said, I love you much or anything like that because he was taught never to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could see that, later on. And I mean, me and him, it took, when he had his spinal surgery in 2004, I was there. I worked at night, but I was there with him during the day. After he spent the month in the hospital, he had 9 months of physical therapy. So I was the one that took him to the hospital every week and spent the whole day with physical therapy, brought him home, got him situated for dinner, and then mom would come home, and then I would go to work. So, I mean, we got closer then because we had never really spent a lot of time together, and me and him fixed up the attic when I came back home and stuff like that. So other than that, I was always afraid of him before all that.
Yeah.
And so I could see, how harsh his mom was. His dad wasn't like that, but it was tough growing up, and my grandma never liked my mom because she figured, well, you stole him away from us, and he got saved and became a Christian, and they were all Catholic, and she didn't like that. Well, on her deathbed, she got saved, my mom there. So it was like, it took all those years, but,
At least it worked out in the end.
Yeah. So people are very, very complex.
Yeah.
But if you don't go through all that you go through, then you don't end up being who you are. That shapes you and makes you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So. Number 9, Jess thinks there's something weird about a grown man wanting to be friends with his child. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's weird.
I don't either, because I mean, especially a teenager. You're
like you should be friends with them
right.
because it'll help you communicate better, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because going through the teen years, you're getting your own opinions, your own feelings about things, and if you're kind of being friends with your parents, then you can work things out without getting into arguments.
Yeah.
And learn about each other. Number 10, why do you think Jess and Leslie decided to help Janice when earlier in the story they wanted to get revenge on her? What changed their mind?
I'd say because they found out she was going through a lot.
Yeah. So do you think that shows that Leslie and Jess kind of matured a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. 31, number 11, sorry. What seems most important to Jess's mother and older sisters when they go to church? Think back to how she thought Leslie was going to dress.
Probably how they come off or something.
Yeah, she thought, people are going to look at us funny if we bring this stranger in and she's not wearing exactly what she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So she was more concerned with appearances. And we're not supposed to be that way,
Mm-hmm.
We were talking in our Bible study a couple of weeks ago. You're supposed to wear your best at church. Well, what if somebody comes in and they just have, torn up clothes, they're dirty, whatever? That may be their best outfit. They could have lost everything in a fire. That may be all they have.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't judge a person and say, oh, why are they in here? They don't even look like they belong. But you don't know their story,
Yeah.
So, do you think what's on the outside is really important when you go to church? How you look? No, because God looks on the heart. He doesn't care what you're wearing. Okay. 12. Literary irony. You can't have my thing, sweetie. Is an incongruity or contrast between what the readers expect to happen in a story and what actually happens. So that's what irony is. Writers can use irony to create humor, to surprise readers, or to help better describe a situation or a character. What irony about what they believe does Leslie point out after they go to church? That's Marty. Come on, sweetheart. Well, Leslie, she says, I don't really believe the Bible, but the story of Jesus being on the cross and dying and all that, she said that was a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that she believed it.
Yeah.
And, you know, she seems like she's ready to believe, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then little Maybelle, you know, the little 6-year-old sister, she said, well, what happens, you know, if you don't believe, what's going to happen to you when you die? Where are you going to go? You know, and so she's kind of thinking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. All righty. So number 13, when Jess admits to Leslie that he believes, as Maybelle does, how does he feel and act? And how does he tell, you know, how does he tell Jess? And why does he feel that way? So he's, you know, he's saying, you know, of course Jesus died. Of course we believe that. But just how does he feel about not just thinking it's a story?
Mm-hmm. Not sure.
Okay. He was kind of embarrassed
Yeah.
a little bit because here's this girl who is his best friend in the whole world, and he finds out she believes it's just a story. So it's like there's a little bit of a disconnect there because they don't believe the same thing. So it's like, how do I react to that? You know, it's just kind of strange that she just thinks it's a beautiful story. But, you know, he really didn't say a whole lot after that. He just kind of was just, okay, you know, didn't know what to say or how to react. But then Maybelle brings up, well, what are you going to believe? You know, what happens when you die? So number 14, the author will often foreshadow events the way she ends the chapter. So foreshadowing means they kind of give you a preview into something that's going to happen later. You know, you kind of get this feeling like, oh, something bad's going to happen or something good's going to happen, you know. So in the end of chapter 8, what do you think might be coming as chapter 8 ends? Yeah, because if you go down here at the last bit of chapter 8, that's right, ain't it, Jess? Maybelle's shrill voice demanded. Doesn't God damn you to hell if you don't believe the Bible? Jess said, I reckon. And Leslie says, I don't believe so. I don't even think you've read the Bible. Jess said, I've read most of it. It's about the only book we have at home. She said, okay, but I still don't think God goes around sending people to hell. They smiled at each other, trying to ignore Maybelle's anxious little voice. But Leslie, she insisted, what if you die? What's going to happen to you if you die? So what do you think's coming?
I'm not really sure. I mean,
I kind of get the feeling that somebody's going to die.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, number 15, page 32. What does Maybelle believe will happen if a person doesn't believe the Bible? So if you don't believe the Bible and you die, what's going to happen to you?
You go to hell?
Yeah. You think that's true?
I'm not sure that's like fully.
Okay. Why not?
Just accept Jesus as your savior.
Mm-hmm. If you do that, you're going to go to heaven, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, let's see. Okay, Mark. Okay. All right. Let me get my Bible here. All right, Mark, chapter 1, verse 9. And it came to pass in those days that Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized of John in Jordan. And straightway, coming out of the water, he saw the heavens opened, and the Spirit like a dove descending upon him. And there came a voice from heaven saying, Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. So according to those verses, who does God say Jesus is? Especially in verse 11. There came a voice from heaven saying, "Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." So who is Jesus? He's God's Son, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, and Mark 14. Verse 60. And this says, "Who does Jesus say that he is?" The high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, saying, "Answerest thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee?" But he held his peace and answered nothing. Again the high priest asked him and said unto him, "Art thou the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?" And Jesus said, "I am." So who does Jesus say he is?
The Christ.
Right. Okay. So according to these verses, why did Jesus come to the earth? What was his purpose in being here? He was coming to save us, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we believe in Jesus, what's going to happen to us?
We'll go to heaven.
Okay. Right. So considering all of these verses, is Maybelle right about what she believes? I would say yeah. Because if, she's concerned at 6 years old
Yeah.
about Leslie not believing, she's worried about her.
Yeah.
And, she believes that because she's grown up in church, and she wants Leslie to feel like she does, that she trusts God and she loves God. So, maybe things will start working on her and maybe she will. I don't know. All right. I am recording this, and because Lana's not here, so I just got a message that she said the class was delayed, that I sent her a message, and I'm like, that's weird. I didn't send the message. Anywho, but page 43 in your study guide, number 2, is going to be the test. And we've got 2 more classes. So you can either, whenever you get it done, just email me or whatever. And you can choose to write a short story about an imaginary place like Terabithia, or you can write a poem about someone who has died that, was loved by you or your family. Or you can write a eulogy for somebody who has died, which means you're going to be speaking about that person at a funeral. If you were to speak about them, what you would say. So I'll put that in an email too. So next week we're doing chapters 9 through 11, and then we've got the study guide pages to go with those. So you have any questions or anything?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Alrighty then. Well, I guess I will see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.